Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to a special, electrifying report that has sent whispers and gasps echoing through the hallowed halls of Broadway and far beyond. Today we're dissecting a moment of pure, unadulterated, live television tension that unfolded at the prestigious Tony Awards, featuring none other than the queen of media herself, Oprah Winfrey. It seems that even the most celebrated night in theater couldn't escape a simmering, highly public feud, and Oprah, with her signature blend of gravitas and subtle power, appeared to weigh in on a recent, explosive controversy involving a Broadway legend. We're talking about Patti LuPone, whose recent fiery remarks targeting fellow black stage actors ignited a firestorm of criticism across the industry. Did Oprah, with a few knowing glances and loaded words, just deliver the ultimate shade to an absent LuPone on national television? Get ready to unpack the subtext, the history, and the dramatic implications of a moment that has everyone buzzing, proving that even at the Tonys, the drama isn't just on stage, but often right in the spotlight. The world of live theater, particularly Broadway, is a realm of unparalleled passion, dazzling talent, and often equally intense rivalries and deeply held opinions. It's a community that prides itself on artistic expression, diversity, and collective storytelling. Yet like any tight-knit world, it can also be a breeding ground for strong disagreements and public disputes. This year, the Tony Awards, Broadway's most glamorous night, usually a celebration of unity and artistic achievement, found itself momentarily overshadowed by a simmering controversy that had been lighting up the industry for weeks. And it took a titan like Oprah Winfrey to bring that underlying tension directly to the national stage, albeit with her characteristic subtle power. Before we delve into Oprah's surprising moment, let's set the scene for the drama that had already gripped Broadway. At the center of this firestorm was Patti LuPone, a name synonymous with Broadway royalty. A three-time Tony winner, LuPone is a performer of immense talent, known for her powerful voice, her electrifying stage presence, and her notoriously outspoken personality. She is a true legend, but her recent actions and words had, unfortunately, cast a shadow over her formidable reputation, sparking a widespread debate that transcended mere theatrical gossip. The controversy ignited when LuPone publicly criticized two fellow stage actors who are black-owned, igniting a firestorm of accusations and counter-accusations across Broadway. The initial spark came from an incident last year. LuPone, who was headlining a neighboring show at the time, had reportedly complained about the sound volume of a production that actress Kecia starred in. Lewis, a respected black actress, later accused LuPone of being racially microaggressive. In her complaints, an accusation that LuPone took great umbrage to. The dispute escalated when LuPone, in an interview with The New Yorker, not only dismissed Lewis's accusation, but allegedly referred to Lewis as bitch. This inflammatory remark immediately drew widespread condemnation, particularly given the racial context of the original accusation. But LuPone's controversial comments didn't stop there. She also took direct aim at Audra McDonald, another towering figure in the Broadway community. McDonald, a six-time Grammy winner and an unparalleled force on stage, had publicly expressed support for Kecia Lewis's remarks. LuPone, in her characteristic unvarnished style, lashed out at McDonald, stating it was typical of her and that McDonald was not a friend. This added another layer of highly public friction, pitting one Broadway icon against another, drawing sharp lines in the sand and forcing many in the theater world to choose sides. The industry watched, horrified and fascinated as this public spate unfolded, raising uncomfortable questions about race, privilege, and conduct within the tightly knit Broadway community. It was against this backdrop of simmering beef and heated public debate that the Tony Awards took place on Sunday. The evening was, as always, a grand celebration of theatrical excellence. However, the underlying tension was palpable, and everyone wondered if the elephant in the room, the LuPone controversy, would be addressed. Enter Oprah Winfrey. Brenda, the media titan revered for her unparalleled ability to command a stage, and connect with an audience was at the Tonys to present the prestigious Best Actress in a Musical award. From the moment she stepped onto the stage of Radio City Music Hall, there was an air of anticipation. Oprah is not one to miss a beat, and her presence suggested that if anyone was going to address the controversy, even subtly, it would be her. And she did not disappoint. While Patti LuPone herself was conspicuously absent from the Tonys, it remains unclear whether she ever intended to attend. As reported by People magazine, her absence only heightened the dramatic tension. It allowed Oprah's carefully chosen words to hang in the air, directed at a vacant seat but aimed squarely at the absent legend. The stage was set for a moment of televisual genius, a masterclass in delivering shade without explicitly naming names. Oprah began her remarks by setting a seemingly innocuous tone, acknowledging the vibrancy of the theatrical season. This astounding year in live theater turns to the women whose work sparked lively conversations among theater fans, Winfrey began. But it was her delivery that gave the words their true weight. As she spoke, she cast a few knowing glances toward the audience, her eyes seeming to linger in certain directions, her expression conveying a deeper meaning beyond the surface words. These glances were not accidental. They were deliberate, signaling to an in-the-know audience that there was more to her statement than met the eye. The subtle cues were immediately picked up by the discerning Broadway audience. A wave of laughter and applause rippled through Radio City Music Hall, a clear indication that the attendees, intimately familiar with the recent controversies, understood the unspoken subtext of Oprah's introduction. They were in on the joke, complicit in the moment of collective recognition. Once the laughter and applause subsided, Oprah delivered the coup de grace, a seemingly simple phrase that, in context, landed like a perfectly aimed jab. A lot of out-talking going on. This seemingly innocuous, almost folksy remark, following her knowing glances and the audience's receptive laughter, was immediately and widely regarded as shade at LuPone. The phrase, a common idiom, implied that there had been an excessive amount of controversial, perhaps even gossipy talk from a particular individual. And given the preceding context, that individual could only be Patti LuPone. The brilliance of Oprah's delivery lay in its plausible deniability. She didn't name LuPone, didn't directly reference the controversy, and didn't use any overtly aggressive language. Yet, through her precise timing, her pointed glances, and her carefully chosen words, she delivered a public rebuke that was understood by virtually everyone watching. It was a masterclass in passive-aggressive communication delivered on a national stage, cementing her reputation as a powerful figure who can make a statement without resorting to overt confrontation. LuPone may not have been physically present, but as People wisely noted, she probably got the message. The message was clear. In the court of public opinion, and certainly among many of her peers, her recent remarks were not sitting well. The incident at the Tonys, while seemingly a minor moment in a long award show, underscored a broader conversation about conduct, accountability, and racial dynamics within the arts. The accusations of racially microaggressive behavior leveled by Kecia are part of a larger ongoing dialogue about racial bias and systemic issues in traditionally white-dominated spaces like Broadway. When a figure of LuPone's stature is accused of such behavior and then doubles down with incendiary language, it sparks a necessary, albeit uncomfortable, reckoning within the community. Audra McDonald's staunch support for Kecia further highlighted the growing divisions. McDonald, a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion in theater, stood firmly with Lewis, reflecting the sentiment of many who felt LuPone's comments were unacceptable. LuPone's subsequent dismissal of McDonald, branding her not a friend and her support as typical, only served to isolate her further from a segment of the Broadway community that values solidarity and progressive values. Oprah's moment at the Tonys, therefore, was not just about celebrity drama. It was a subtle but potent intervention in a significant cultural conversation. As a Black woman who has championed empowerment and inclusivity throughout her career, Oprah's decision to seemingly weigh in on this particular controversy carried immense weight. It signaled that the issues raised by Lewis and supported by McDonald were not to be dismissed lightly, and that such public displays of alleged racial insensitivity and personal attacks would not go unremarked upon, even on a night of celebration. This incident is a powerful example of how public figures, even those as established as Patti LuPone, are increasingly held accountable for their words and actions, particularly in the age of social media and heightened social awareness. What might have once been confined to backstage whispers or industry gossip now spills into the public domain, amplified by platforms where opinions are instantly shared and judgments swiftly rendered. The impact on LuPone's legacy, already legendary, will now inevitably include this controversial chapter, forcing a re-evaluation of her public persona. In the end, the Tonys offered a masterclass in both theatrical performance and subtle high-stakes communication. While the awards celebrated the triumphs of the season, Oprah Winfrey's calculated remarks provided a quiet but firm reminder that even on Broadway's biggest night, real-world controversies and the demand for accountability are never truly out of the spotlight. It was a moment that perfectly captured the complex interplay of art, personality, and social responsibility, proving that sometimes the most memorable lines are not delivered from a script, but from a carefully chosen glance and a few pointed words. And there you have it, a moment of perfectly executed high-stakes shade that proves even the most glamorous nights in theater can't escape the drama of real-world feuds. Oprah Winfrey delivered a masterclass in subtle commentary, and the entire industry is buzzing. Thank you for joining us for this special report. Good day.